What I want to try and do here is really just sit what happened to us in the Raytheon 9 case in its context, because I think it's very important not to take it out of its context. Everything that we did, even the support for us during a very long campaign, it was nearly 2 years before we got the trial. Really, and the action that we took and everything that went before that in Derry was all connected and all grew out of the general anti-war movement. And I think it's very important to get that the right way around. Because sometimes there is a suggestion that action like the action that we took is sort of an alternative to the building of a mass movement, that it is a different, that it possibly a different strategy. For us, the action at Raytheon in August, it's not the first time we occupied Raytheon, I'll go into that. But to us, it was a tactic as part of a broader strategy of confronting the war, and that complements the targeting of the arms trade in particular, and the building of a mass anti-war movement. So I want to try and emphasise that sense of things being complementary, because I think sometimes it can get lost. And well, part of the background to what we did, one of the things that we were inspired by when we took the action we did in August 2006, was the action of people who became known as Shannon 5, who had gone and broken into Shannon Airport. They weren't the only people to do this. I myself thought that Mary Kelly had done it on her own as well before this. They had broken into Shannon Airport, damaged a US warplane, caused far more damage than we did, because the whole plane had to be reskinned. Millions of pounds worth of damage. And after a very, very long process, I mean that was in 2003, just in 2006 they finally got let off by the jury in Dublin. They accepted that they were acting to prevent that warplane being used in the commission of war crimes. And that was a big inspiration to us. Of course, we had always supported the Shannon people through their trial and so on. But what was important for us, and what was important for us to remember, were the biggest demonstrations and the most attention that was drawn to the use of Shannon Airport in Ireland as a stop-off point for US military going to Iraq, was when we were having the biggest demonstrations in Dublin as well. Do you know what I mean? We had on the 15th of February, I mean, it was something like 100,000 people in the centre of Dublin. We had one in Belfast, we had a demonstration in Belfast of 25,000 people as well. But it was at that time that there were busloads of us who went from Derry even to join the mass demonstrations at Shannon Airport. We broke through the fence and got on to, almost got onto the runway at one of those. And it's in that context that I think that sort of action makes sense. And sometimes it's terrible tensions among anti-war groups in Ireland at different times. I think just flowing out of the frustration of not being able to stop the war, and these things come up. But sometimes the suggestion is being made that the mass demonstrations in Dublin were a distraction from taking action at Shannon. And actually, I think that's the misunderstanding of how things work. And that's certainly the case. That's certainly the case for us. I mean, I mentioned this morning that we began demonstrating against Raytheon's presence when they were first set up in 1999, after they had set up in Derry. But a very vigorous and very imaginative campaign at that time. We held citizens' juries to discuss the question, lobbied the local council. Local political representatives were even more revealed in later years, were very actively involved in the securing of military contracts for Raytheon, and we want to highlight that and expose the political pressure on the council. And I mean, to us, that seemed to be, it was a real vulnerability in the arms trade generally and in Raytheon, is that the arms trade wants to present itself as some sort of normal business and normal run-of-the-mill business. It's just another company that's operating. And they always say that you would always think, given their publicity, it's always the way that it's presented in Derry. You can always think their only reason for existence is to create jobs for local people. That they're not about making weapons or supplying, dictatorships and the US and British military. But they hide behind, I think they use economic and political and moral blackmail against local politicians. I think they treat democracy with complete contempt. They're secretive about what it is that they're doing. They will lie through their teeth about what it is that they're doing. And so much of our campaign was about trying to strip away those lies and the things that they that attempt to present themselves as a normal, respectable company. I mean, something that they're still doing, and something that we're concentrating on now, is that Raytheon are now sort of offering to go in to speak at local schools, sort of about how people can get jobs in software and all that sort of stuff, to present themselves, as this sort of normal part and responsible part of the community, as just found out as well, as the RAF and the Navy are trying to do as well. They're sort of pushing into, which is a course with the local teachers last week on citizenship, and they were saying in all their schools they're getting phone calls all the time from the Navy. This is in Northern Ireland, where there's a difficulty there. Do you know what I mean? There historic difficulties. Royal Navy, but they're trying to sort of push that in. Thought they got a great clue when they got a Navy helicopter to land at a Catholic school in the valley just up the road from Derry. I thought it was a great thing to be happening. So Raytheon are involved in that as well. And when they first came to Derry, they lied completely, and their assurances were backed up by people like John Hume. Unfortunately, I think really just posted that idea, saying they're only working on non-military software production. They're not directly working on missiles. It's really not so bad. And why would you complain about this? This is all complete lies. I mean, under freedom of information stuff that we got after the action took place. And it was revealed that the negotiations that led to the setting up of the Raytheon plant in Derry were all premised on the awarding of a contract by the British government called the Airborne Standoff Radar System, which is about, and this is Raytheon, and I think this is also part of the context as well, which is important to keep in mind. The US military has accelerated what they call a revolution in military technology and software and so on in the last 10 years. Over the horizon, targeting of missiles and so on has become much more important and much more to the fore in military strategy for the US and Britain. And this is exactly where Raytheon works, and exactly sort of the niche that Raytheon has tried to insert itself into. The Airborne Standoff Radar System, sort of gives the capability for the targeting of missiles over the horizon. The other system they were working on was a system called the Joint Effects Tactical Targeting System, which enables the integration of all the software elements of it and all the control systems for every element in what they call the battle space, and to be integrated on a huge big screen, and therefore controlled from command center, which can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be on the battlefield at all. So therefore things are controlled and identified remotely, and all that technology that is being used in Iraq and Afghanistan, Astor has now been rushed into service in Afghanistan. All that sort of when the British military, all of that sort of thing is exactly what Raytheon is at the cutting edge of. So our campaign, and again to emphasise this point about the sort of for a long time the campaign seemed quite small in Derry, though things like the Citizens' Jury, which was held from maybe 2001, was very, very well attended, caused an enormous controversy in Derry about this. And politicians running away and hiding behind this lie that there's not military production being made, and how can you argue against jobs and those sorts of things. But we kept stepping up that pressure, and the pressure really came to bear at the time of the mass movements, the mass demonstrations against the war, because we've always made